The fog hung thick over Cambridge, clinging to the ancient spires and the sluggish River Cam like a damp shroud. Postman Pat, his red van purring, navigated the narrow streets, whistling a cheerful tune that the fog seemed to absorb. He delivered a postcard to Fireman Sam, who poked his head out with a mug of tea steaming in his hand. Morning, Pat. Nasty stuff this. Sam gestured at the fog with his free hand. A bit thick. Pat chuckled. Makes it harder to spot the hidden toads, doesn't it? Sam grinned. Speaking of toads, have you seen Toad lately? He's been awfully quiet, usually causing some sort of, well, toadish mischief. Meanwhile, a world away in terms of temperament, Dick Spanner, robotic private eye, sat in his perpetually dusty office above a chip shop on Jesus Lane. His metallic body, clad in a trench coat that had seen better days, hummed with the whirring of servos. The blinds were drawn, casting long, angular shadows across the room. He nursed a glass of oil, his preferred tipple, and stared into the flickering screen of his ancient computer. The door creaked open, announcing the arrival of Davenport, a border collie with an optimism that bordered on infuriating, even for Dick. His tail wagged furiously, scattering dust motes in the dim light. Good morning, Dick. A beautiful day, isn't it? Even with the fog, you can feel the possibilities in the air. Dick groaned internally. The only possibility I feel is the possibility of a paying client, Davenport, and the possibility is currently looking extremely slim. Just then, the phone on his desk rang, its shrill tone cutting through the silence. Dick answered, his voice a low, gravelly monotone. Spanner Investigations. You got trouble? I got gears. The voice on the other end was frantic, breathless. Mr. Spanner, it's about a baby, a newborn. She's gone. The Cambridge University Hospital, a modern monolith of glass and steel, stood in stark contrast to the ancient colleges around it. The fog had lifted slightly, revealing the sterile, almost clinical atmosphere within. Dick, Davenport, Pat, and Sam converged on the maternity ward, a chaotic scene of distraught parents, worried nurses, and grim-faced police officers. A newborn gone missing? Pat asked, his face etched with concern. That's terrible indeed, Dick replied, his optical sensors scanning the scene meticulously. The infant was reported missing approximately 3 hours ago. No forced entry, no obvious signs of a struggle. Portland Bill, the sturdy lighthouse keeper, arrived a little later, having hitched a ride with a delivery truck. His calm demeanor and years of observing the sea had given him an uncanny ability to read situations. He stood quietly, absorbing the atmosphere. The police, led by Inspector Davies, were focusing their investigation on the CCTV footage and witness statements. All pointed towards a single suspect, Nurse Emily Carter, a young maternity nurse who had been on duty in the nursery that night. The footage showed her near the baby, holding her, then obscuring the view with a conveniently placed blanket. The evidence is pretty damning, Spanner, Davies said, his voice tight with frustration. We've got her fingerprints, witness testimony, and a clear motive. She's been struggling with debt, apparently. We think she planned to sell the baby. Dick, however, remained unconvinced. The evidence is certainly compelling, Inspector, but something doesn't quite compute. He pointed to the CCTV footage. Her gait, the way she holds herself. Something feels off. Davenport wagged his tail excitedly. I agree, Dick. There's a certain delicateness, a hesitancy, that doesn't quite match the profile of a hardened criminal intent on kidnapping. Sam nodded thoughtfully. And Nurse Carter, from what I've heard, is well respected. A dedicated nurse. Doesn't seem the type. Mr. Toad, who had finally surfaced from his undisclosed location, hopped into the room, looking particularly concerned. Terrible business, this. A baby. Unforgivable. But I must concur with Mr. Spanner. I have a feeling, a croaking suspicion, that things are not as they seem. Bill remained silent, his gaze fixed on the details often overlooked. He noticed the subtle shift in the CCTV camera's angle, the way the blanket was positioned just so, the almost theatrical precision of the whole event. Dick focused his investigation on Nurse Carter. Despite the overwhelming evidence against her, he interviewed her colleagues, her friends, her family. Everyone painted the same picture, a kind, dedicated nurse struggling with financial difficulties. But then, Dick found a clue. A receipt tucked away in Nurse Carter's apartment for a custom-made dress. A very expensive, very elaborate dress. A dress? What's so unusual about that? Davies asked, unimpressed. The receipt is for a dressmaker in London's Soho district, Dick explained, his voice devoid of emotion. A dressmaker known for specializing in theatrical costumes and gentleman's attire. Dick, Davenport, and Pat took the train to London and tracked down the dressmaker. The dressmaker, a flamboyant character with a penchant for sequins and gossip, confirmed that he had indeed made a dress for Emily Carter. But then he paused, a glint in his eye. Well, technically, I made it for her brother, or rather, a person claiming to be her brother. He was quite specific with the measurements. You see, very masculine proportions. For a woman, the pieces started to fall into place. Dick, with his enhanced processing power, pieced together the inconsistencies he had observed in the CCTV footage. The gait, the posture, the way the blanket was held. It wasn't a woman. It was a man, impersonating a woman. They raced back to Cambridge and presented their findings to Inspector Davies. The police, initially skeptical, agreed to investigate. They delved into Emily Carter's family history and discovered that she had a twin brother, David, who had a history of petty crime and cross-dressing. David had recently moved to Cambridge and was, according to neighbors, a devoted brother to Emily. The police raided David Carter's apartment. They found the stolen baby, unharmed, sleeping peacefully in a carefully prepared crib. They also found the dress, hidden in a closet, along with a collection of wigs and makeup. The motive, it turned out, was not money, but something far more twisted. David had a delusional obsession with motherhood. He believed he was destined to be a mother and, in his warped mind, he was rescuing the baby from what he perceived as an inadequate mother. Emily, devastated and bewildered, cooperated fully with the police. She had no idea about her brother's plan. She had simply been struggling to make ends meet and had accepted money from her brother without asking too many questions. The news of the baby's recovery spread like wildfire through Cambridge. The grateful parents, reunited with their daughter, named her Moonbeam, in honor of the hope that had shone through even the darkest fog. The case was closed. David Carter was taken into custody, facing serious charges of kidnapping and child endangerment. Emily Carter, cleared of all suspicion, was reinstated at the hospital, her reputation intact. Back in his dusty office, Dick Spanner poured himself another glass of oil. Davenport wagged his tail enthusiastically. Another case solved. Dick, you were right all along. It just goes to show, you can't always trust what you see, Dick grunted. Indeed, Davenport. Sometimes, the truth lies beneath the surface. Sometimes, it requires a little robotic intuition. Pat delivered a thank you card from the grateful parents. Sam brought a celebratory cake from Pontypandy. Bill brought a calming sea shanty. Even Mr. Toad offered a rare word of sincere gratitude.